I am Belinda Payne, and I work with the Fentress County Board of Education through Save the Children. And this is starting my fourth year getting to do a job that I absolutely love. Like, I can't even put into words how much that I love what I get to do. And today, when we did our little activity, we had to write our 5 words down, encouraging students to love to read. Brittany, when I see hers, same thing. That's the job that we have, is to encourage kids not to read, but to love to read. So it is definitely something that we've tried to instill in our community, in our schools, in our students. So we hope today that you get something that you can take back with you, that that you can instill that love for reading with your students and in your schools, communities too. Okay.
I'm Brittany Swafford, and I just finished my third year as a reading ambassador. And what that means is our school district partnered with Save the Children to allow us to develop this programming to help encourage kids' love to read. And I'm going to start with my takeaway, because sometimes I get excited talking about these things and I forget to say what I really want you to know, and that is that you can make an impact. I have been teaching for 13 years, which I know is not as long as many other people, but I never felt like I would have a lasting impact in my community. And now through this READ program, I feel like kids are going to have memories, core memories, based around reading. And that's important, and that is something that every person in this room can do. So hopefully, like Belinda said, you guys will walk away today with saying, this is something I can do in my community. This is something I can ask for help with.
I'm Ashley Hall. I'm the reading ambassador with Save the Children in Crockett County for Friendship Elementary School. We are a very small district, and while our programs are the same, they're going to look very different because they have more students and more schools to serve, and I'm at one school. There are 3 reading ambassadors in our county, each at the elementary schools. So it's one big program, and we're all pulling for the same goal, but it's going to look a little bit different in the way that it's presented today. And we hope that you can use everything that you see. And if you need anything, I'll give you my email at the end, and I'll be glad to share whatever resources that I have with you.
So we all develop READ plans based on 5 goals. The first goal is to increase access to age-appropriate books and literacy-rich environments. So Belinda will tell you some ways that we have done that in our county and schools.
Like Ashley said, you know, we each have our own programs in our schools to do this, but it looks different at each school. So we decided to share with you what it looks like as a county for the 2 of us. But we get books through Gift in Kind, and we can distribute those books to our students in ways that we want to. We do the book distributions. We can have those at open house or back to school activity or events. In a couple of weeks, we'll be having a back to school bash at the park in our community, and we can give books away at those events. Then, of course, MyON, which our program Accelerated Reader. Let me back up for just a second. Accelerated Reader, if you remember that, then Accelerated Reader, where students can go, they read a book, they take, we call it book checks. Probably won't have time to tell you about that today, but I will, if you want it, I can tell you later. But it also has MyON, which is online books that the students have access to at school, but also at home. So we have that connection to get books to the kids, even if they don't have a physical book in their hand. And then birthday books, a huge hit. We all were doing those at our schools. Kids look forward to that. They're telling us when their birthday is, even though we've already got lists of when their birthdays are, to give them books. You know, even in the summertime, they worry that they're not going to get a book because their birthdays at a time that they're not going to be at school. So birthday books are a way that we can give them. And then just recently, at the end of the year, we received 3 little libraries in our county, and we've put them at different places. And actually, Monday when I was coming down, where I had left mine, Roan State wanted to go ahead and open theirs up so that students could start coming, and checking out books there. But we have them at all of the parks. I think I actually got to tell a lady through this that we have libraries at the parks too. So goal 1, we definitely want books in the hands of kids. So, yes.
Do you know your cost for the Mion? Is that a Capstone product or is that?
It's Renaissance, actually, and Save the Children actually purchased that for our school system through the grant. So we don't have access to know all of the individual per student costs, but it's a wonderful resource. No. It has thousands of books, and we saw a lot of increased engagement with kids. Really, this whole goal, increase access, our mission was to make books so readily available to kids that, they would pick them up when they were bored. Or teachers would say, we have 5 extra minutes, get on Mion and read. Or we're at the park, and the kids are running toward the little lending libraries. So basically, it's all about making books so accessible, putting them at doctor's offices and just any restaurants, literally anything, having read aloud nights, that kind of thing, just literally making books so accessible to kids that they just pick them up, because even if there's nothing that they think's better to do, they have a book, And also, I added this picture of the older kids too, because you wouldn't think that sometimes they lose interest. But I was actually excited and surprised to see that the birthday books worked so well. Even for older kids, I would see them a lot picking out books, because free choice is very, very beneficial. So I would have a table of books. They would pick out the book they wanted, and a lot of times they would say, I don't see anything I want here right now. And then maybe I would ask them what they like and get some books like that. But they would say, but my little brother would really love this one. So just getting kids to read to their siblings and that kind of thing, we saw had a huge impact. Okay, reading goal number 2, improve student reading achievement in school and at home.
This was probably one of my favorite goals, but you're going to hear me say that because, there's no goal that I didn't just absolutely love, okay? But one of the tasks that we were given when we got this job was our director of schools told us that we could not call it a test, because just the word test stresses everybody out, the teacher and the student. So Brittany and I, in the beginning, we sat down and we were talking about what we could name this, okay? Well, the color challenge. And if you've been to the library, raise your hand if you've been to a library. Okay, you see the dots that are on the books. They're what? They're colors, okay? So we came up with the color challenge. And the STAR test, which is the test that's given through Renaissance, STAR Early Literacy. If you're in early literacy, that might ring a bell, or the STAR test. Once the students take that, then it gives them what level that they're on, okay? So, and what's really cool about that is where AR and Mion are both in that Renaissance, you don't have to go through and try to set a goal for them for Mion, because based on how that they scored, then they can read books that are on their level. Now, they're smart, so they could go in and still pick books. Like if they wanted to read books about horses, once they got off got a different topic, then the books could be at different levels. So you kind of had to help with that too. Of course, the Mion, if you'll notice, we've got our Mion letters. We would send these home at the beginning of the year, and it didn't matter. That was something we sent out from our schools. But when we had events, this was something that we could send, talk to them, meet them face to face. If they could not get access at home for whatever reason, all they had to do, we could talk them through this if they couldn't follow the steps to make sure, because it was a big deal for us to make sure that students were able to get on MyOn at home too. Goal setting, you know, that would look different at each school too, but we set goals with them so that they would have incentives that they could work toward, whether it was their individual goals or class goals or grade level goals, you know, like that they could get to. I'm going to let Brittany talk to you about the Reader of the Month.
Well, actually, 2 of these pictures here contain 3 of my children, because what I loved about this program is the fact that I could involve my own kids and do things that I felt like as a parent and a teacher were beneficial. So this whole goal was about ownership for parents, ownership for kids. So when we set goals, we worked with kids, we worked with teachers. We didn't just say, this is your goal. We said, this is where you're striving for this. What do you feel you need to do, you know? Reader of the Month was something that kids could work for. They could brag. Parents could brag. We found that was actually, that's my yard. That's my kids with their Reader of the Month yard signs. And we got to keep them there for a whole month. And everyone that drove past our house knew my kids were smart, you know, or that they improved, or that they were excited about reading, because that's really what it was about. We didn't say the kids with the highest scores. We said the kids who improved, the kids that read the most books, the kids that were the most engaged with our programming. Reading at all. I mean, sometimes you had this kid and it took giving them Reader of the Month to motivate them, but that's what it was all about. It was about ownership and motivation. Sure, we used data. Sure, we looked at where kids were and tried to help them discover what books they needed to be reading. But really, it was about communication with parents and making sure that kids and parents were on the same page and knew what to do. We also did Battle of the Books to reach some older kids, and that was a really fun event. So we just gave kids a list of books to read, 6th through 8th grade kids a list of books to read, and then they came together and had a whole Jeopardy-style tournament to discover which school in our county had some of the best readers. So
We should have took a picture of the trophy, because like we have trophies for 5th and 6th grade, and then we had trophies for 7th and 8th grade together. So it was a bragging thing for the schools as well, that they get to keep that trophy. So we were smart enough to figure out not to put a date on it so that we could pass it on from year to year. So.
yeah, and take away from this, just motivation and involvement. Ask the kids what they want to read. Communicate with parents on ways they can help their kids. Goal number 3, improve quality and quantity of literacy opportunities during the school day. That's hard in some counties where pacing guides are strict and curriculums are set. So we had to work around that a lot. You can see a picture of me reading to kids. I was literally known as the girl who comes and reads to us. But they loved it. And so basically it was engaging. I did a lot of seasonal classroom activities. So teachers might say it's the day before Christmas break, and that would be the busiest day for me because I would go to so many classrooms and do so many reading activities those days. Belinda can tell you about the other 2.
And I can honestly say that if you go to a classroom and you ask a teacher, can I borrow your kids for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes that I could read to them? They're not going to tell you no, okay? They're not. So pick a good book. The seasonal classroom activities, I know, we could do like fall, or we could do like specific holidays. I mean, anything for the kids that when, reading it, putting an activity to it, they're going to remember it. You know, they're going to remember it. It's going to be a lifelong memory in their head, and we got to make it fun, you know. So the fun things they do remember. And then reading with cadets, that where you have your high school students coming in, you could replace that with students that are in beta that are in your school, students that are in student council. You know, it's great to have those older students to come in and read with kids, because I've always told kids, even when I was in the classroom, the little kids, they look up to the big kids, you know. So if they see them reading, or if they see them in the hallway, it's like a kind of a celebrity thing for them.
And what that allowed us to do too is take advantage of bus duty times or underutilized times in the school day.
If I didn't already say, this one is my favorite.
This one's my favorite too.
Okay, all right. This one is probably what got us like our footprint in our community, okay? Because like we can't go anywhere that they're not asking us about something. And it's usually our elf adventure, and that doesn't happen until Christmas, but they love that. They love that anticipation, getting ready for it, and to get involved. So this goal is improve school capacity to increase family participation in children's literacy education at school and at home. Well, and it does. And then you have those parents that don't come to school for things, but they show up at your events, and they're excited to be there. And of course, we're very excited that they're there, you know. The reading in the park, we've done that for the last couple of years. We have a couple of ladies that are with us. Girls, wave. Yay. These are our Imagination Library ladies. We were invited into their group, and of course, we've, loved being a part of that. Invite people in your community out to your events, and then it truly does become very meaningful, okay? Do you want to tell the favorite comment about the reading in the park?
Yeah, actually, I had a parent come up to me during reading at the park and say to me that this looks like a scene from Gilmore Girls. Yes. But really, that's what it was. It was engaging. It was fun. It involved the community. And you can read that list of things that we do. There's many, many more things. But I want to make sure we dedicate a little bit of time to the Fincher's Elf Adventure, because that's the one we're kind of known for. These families and kids and businesses in our community participate in this hunt for elves in businesses. So we thought, how can we make this literacy rich? How can we involve that? So what we did is we went to all of these businesses and we said, hey, we have an elf. Can you hide it somewhere in your business with a note, a message, something for kids and their families to read together, right? So then kids got a North Pole pass that had a list of all the businesses, and they could go to those businesses, read the message, and collect a signature on their North Pole pass. And then, that's okay. They could collect a signature on their North Pole pass, and then at the end, we had a celebration, like a culminating activity where all of the businesses pretty much that were involved donated prizes, and kids could come and they used the tickets that they collected at each business to win prizes. And it was amazing. You can see that pile of tickets, and I'm just going to tell you, we're from a very small town, or county, actually. Our whole county has 4 elementary schools and 2 high schools, and the largest group of kids in any is a little over 500. So it's a small town, and right there in that pile, there are over 6,000 tickets. So that was over 6,000 opportunities for kids to read with their families, and it's something that we're very proud of, because I feel like that's one of those core memory things that kids are going to talk about. But also, when you go into the block company and they start texting you every day, we had kids come in and I changed the message and I re-hid the elf, and they're so excited to be involved, and they're like, what can we donate? How can we help? That's what it's all about, making that community.
I will say we even had the funeral homes to ask if they could have an elf, and you think, oh, I don't know about that. It was just right inside of the door, you know, and they ask us. We didn't ask them. So,
But then kids are making good memories in those places. And they're happy. And they're not so scared. And they know more about their community. And they know more about the geography of where they live. Because they're going into stores and they're seeing places and they're visiting areas in the community, like the parks that wanted an elf, that they might not ever visit for any other reason.
What was your time frame on that? Like, how long did it go on for? Like 2 weeks?
We actually did a month.
we
Yeah.
started right after
Thanksgiving.
and then we actually ended the Monday after we got out for Christmas, right before Christmas. We've tweaked it a little bit each year, you know, but we've also grown each year. So, and some people keep, this time we had 80 something businesses, you know. And what's funny is they become very attached to their elf. So we did not get all of our elves back, so we have to go. And if they have one, they name them. I mean, like, it's amazing.
They're like, we're just keeping this for next year, right? Okay, goal number 5, increase teacher, staff, and administrator knowledge of the READ project. I know we're probably running out of time, but basically what we wanted to do is make sure that teachers knew what was going on, knew what kids were reading, knew what the reports from STAR were, and how those could be helpful. So again, it's all about communication. We went to meetings with like the Fentress Health Council. So it's all about keeping other people involved and in the loop and letting them know the data and letting them know how they can help and asking how we could help them. And again, you don't have to be a reading ambassador to do that. These meetings are open to people, and you can go and, apply for a donor's choose and get books to give out to your school for birthday books or something like that. Do you have anything you want to add here?
No.
Okay. We have some awesome graphs that show how much reading achievement has improved with the READ project. Okay, so some different things to think about. Some places, there are definitely limited resources, so try looking for community partners or grants. Like we said, I think maybe I can count, I can really only think of one time I was told, no, we really don't want to help you help kids learn to read. So that all these businesses we went to and we left it open. I mean, if it was a small business and they wanted to donate $20, that's great. So just ask. A lot of people just need to be asked. They want to help. Demographics, Fentress County's small. We already talked about that, but still capable of growth and progress. Lack of awareness, that's huge. A lot of people don't know how they can help or they don't know what they can do. And so you just finding and searching for those things and making them known is extremely beneficial. And then cultural barriers sometimes can be huge. And that's not just things with race and ethnicity. That is just this culture of, well, I hated school and it was hard for me to learn to read and I don't know how to help my kids, or I can't help with this. I'm the guy at the block company. What does my job have to do with reading? So these cultural barriers and attitudes can be something to prioritize and things that will change as you continue to increase access.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, this was just some of the community partners that we have. The Imagination Library, you could see that they show up. Ask these people, they will come. Through the Governor's Early Literacy, we were receiving books, talking to the teachers, how they can use those books in their classroom because they were usually opening the boxes, taking the books out, putting them on their shelf, and not realizing the resources that they had in their hands. We also received not one, but 2 storybook trails through grants. So if you are interested in a grant, definitely apply for it because it is so worth it. The Fentress County Chamber of Commerce, local churches. Like I said, we were going to have our back to school bash in a couple of weeks. That's churches that are volunteering. And people are offering to do free haircuts for kids and tons of school resources. Excuse me. And then the Fentress County Fair, they let us set up for a week. It does help that I'm on the fair board, but because they can't tell somebody that's on the board, no, right? Okay, so they let us set up, but that's a good opportunity too to get us out in the community. Okay, all right.
And I will say, if you always have a book in your hand and you're always giving kids books and you're always reading books to people, that you will be known as the book person. And they will start asking you questions like, how do I help my kid learn to read? Or how can I help? Or can I give you books? All the time, yes. So just that cultural thing again. You want to tell them about the success stories? I mean, basically, this is what we've already talked about.
Yes, and you'll probably have to read these on your own because we are really just almost out of time.
We're just about to turn this over to Ashley. She's going to tell you about some different school-based things, but really start asking for book donations. Ask parents who have little kids their kids are growing out of books. Start lending libraries and parks. All that takes is your high school building a little box for you to put them in. Be a part of events in your community and show up with books and your face and answer questions. And encourage your child to read things that they will enjoy. The back of a cereal box is what I tell parents, because if they're reading that, they're reading something.
It's reading. Okay, and you're on our last slide.
Yep.
Will you do the last one? Here's our information, but we gave you the packet too. And if you want to scan this over to the side, like we were talking to you about Renaissance, they put out an article that lists the books by grade, okay, grade bands and by grade, that students enjoy reading. This is fantastic. It's very thick, but depending on what grade that you work with, you can actually just print it off, for yourself. So anyway, thank you very much.
I'm Ashley Hall, like I said earlier. I'm starting my 21st year teaching, so I'm teaching the kids that I had in kindergarten for 12 years. This is my 4th year with Save the Children. I'm starting, and I am so excited to share some things with you. So what is a literacy champion? We've heard a lot about that the last couple of days, last sessions. I looked up, because I'm a word nerd. So I looked up. Literacy is the ability to read and write, but there's so much more to it than that, and all the components that we know of that all the classroom teachers are going, phonemic awareness, fluency, comprehension, all the things. Yes. However, the word champion, it has a couple of definitions. One meaning is a person who has defeated or surpassed all rivals in competition, particularly in sports. Another meaning is a person who fights or argues for a cause. But not just that, but for the benefits of someone else. So as I look at these two meanings of these two words, here's my definition, okay? This is Ashley 101. Someone who supports the cause of reading and writing on behalf of someone else. That's what I get to do every day. And I could not be happier about that. So how do we do it? This is a student in my class who came to me and she said, it's too early for this, Ms. Ashley, because she just got off the bus. She just got her food. She was late. She comes in. And I said, you know what, let's just take a minute. So I let her eat. We start talking, just have a little conversation. I said, so what do you like about Save the Children? Look at her response. I love how we do learning in here. I said, you know what? Me too, baby. I do too. I'm so glad you're here. So the first thing I do is I start with the big D that everybody hates. The big D word. Anybody know what the big D word is? Oh, thank you, Michelle. Data. Okay? Data. Love it or hate it, you gotta have it. You need it to discover the student's strengths and deficits. The first thing I do is take this data dive, and that comes to me through the Renaissance platform, through the STAR and the SEL test. It gives us the reading zones that they talked about earlier, and that's just a snippet of where the Goldilocks books are for those kids. I pull these reports, and they also give a focal skill report, which is my favorite. It has little lightning bolts, and it says, okay, this kid is a 4th grade student, but they are missing this building block from 2nd grade. And so that tells me, hey, if I concentrate just on those lower building blocks that are missing, that's going to bump that bubble kid up to be completely on grade level, if not superseding it. So that's what I do. So we get in there, and I show them. Say, hey, This is what we're going to learn. This is how we're going to do it. And I'm going to need you to give me your best for the next 35 to 40 minutes. And I do that all day long, kindergarten through 5th grade, and it looks vastly different in each scenario. But I create these challenges and activities and games, competitions between classes, plan community and school events, just to put a fun twist on reading so that it becomes more fun and engaging and not a chore. It's not, oh, we have to read. It's a, we get to read. And they change that verbiage and they do it on their own. I follow through with rewards. There are small incentives that I do weekly because Friday is Data Day, and they know that. They are responsible for keeping up with different things with their reading goals, and I'll show y'all that in a minute. But along the way, when they achieve those bigger goals, those little incentives help keep them motivated, and it helps keep them interested. They get to see their progress, and they are individually and solely responsible for that. I tell them, I'm just here to boost you. You got to do the work. And when they know they're in charge of how far they will go, they will work so hard. You'll be very surprised. I'm just here to keep them on track and support them. And I've gone to the teachers and told them the same thing. There are so many things that I have going on at the same time because different activities reach different kids in different ways. There's lots of different learners. We know that. So if you're all pouring your apples into one bucket, well, this one over here don't even like the apples that are in your bucket. They want the ducks on the pond. So you have to look at it from different approaches. I double check every week and reward them with passport stickers. You'll see that in just a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, at the end of each 9 weeks, I also print a report that shows all of the books they've taken, whether they count towards their goal or not. And so that's when they get in that, you mean I read that many books? Are you serious? Because they only write in their folder what they make a 90 to 100 on. So they don't see, I actually did read, I didn't do so well on that AR quiz, but I did read that book. And I've had kids come to me as soon as they do it and say, oh, Miss Ashley, I just messed up. I knew the answer and I knew that wasn't right and I clicked it and can you help me? And they're just panicked because they know they didn't do their best on it. And so you say, well, you're going to have to pay a little closer attention next time because it's in there, So, I give those reports to the teachers, and they get to comb through them as well. The parents get a copy of those, so they know going in when they get to come to the pep rally, hey, my kid's going to get a superstar award because they met their goal, or we were a little short this time because they just lacked the motivation. That's where keeping them at the end of each week is very motivating. When we first started the first year, my school, my little bitty school, goes pre-K to 5th grade, and there are roughly 120 students in the whole school, so it's one of each grade, okay? So if you take out pre-K, they're early learners. You take out kindergarten, they're early learners. I usually start with just a couple of first graders who may be ready. If they score in a certain percentile on the SEL, which is the STAR Early Literacy Test, then I let them take the STAR test just to see if they're ready. So you'll have a couple of those, but it's mainly 2nd through 5th grade. Okay, in my school, that averages between 60 and 70 most years. That's how many kids are in AR. Our very first year, we went from no AR program, no external thing outside the classroom. Nobody was charting or keeping up with it. And we had about 62, 63 students, and they read 5 million words, okay? That's a lot of words, okay? But time out, let me delve further. Some of those kids didn't even have an AR zone, and we had to do a modified or an accommodated folder system for them because they were special needs friends, and they didn't have the comprehension skills. So you have to take out their word count. You have your ELL learners who we've had a modified and accommodated folder system for them too, so they can still participate, still get the prizes, but their word count is also not counting. And I am a very, very high percentage of low socioeconomic friends. So you take all that into consideration. Our first year, you want to talk about shooting the moon. 5 million words, we celebrated. I mean, we partied hard. Year 2, same kids, 5th grade leaves, but then, of course, those first graders come on up 2nd grade. There were around 70 kids. It delved between 69 and 72, 73 because they come in and out. We hit 10 million words. Okay? Okay. No. Whoa. Oh. No. Because now I'm getting chill bumps because I'm going to tell you about this last year. This last year, okay, the 5th grade class that left us was the biggest class in the school. Okay? 59 students are AR students. Okay? 59 kids. You want to take a guess on how many words? 13.5 million words. Y'all, I cried like a baby. It was huge. It was huge for our little group. So when I tell you these are the things that we do, this is why we're here. I can't wait to see what next year brings.
Can I put a little perspective into this?
Yes.
Add to this? Like a very large Harry Potter book, okay, has about 120,000 words in it. So a huge, so if you're not familiar with that, that helps put a little bit into perspective.
And you take first and second graders who are reading the more picture.
Like this, yeah.
They're basically picture books.
Like a Pete the Cat might have like 450 words.
So when the kids come in, I start day 1. Welcome back, the books missed you. We have hearts, they sign their name, they put their title on there, and the funny thing is, our photographer that comes in to do the yearbook pictures, I looked on the wall, Mr. Johnny's heart is right here. He signed the heart on what his book was that he had read over the summer because he saw our display. Wall of Fame. I take a picture at the end of the 9 weeks. Readers are leaders and leaders are readers. And I put their picture on there for each of the 9 weeks, and they're in order from word count and goals met, goals exceeded. And that's our big wall. And I know that doesn't look huge, but it really is. This is their AR folders. This is a 2nd grader, and when they would meet a weekly goal, they would get a passport sticker. So the first 9 weeks of school, there are fewer weeks because we have to get testing and all the things. But you can see he did very well. That's the first 9 weeks, the second 9 weeks, 3rd and 4th are on the back. And I take and I go into the classrooms. This is their goals. They set them. I do not. And she said, okay, I can read 12 books. And I told them I don't care about points. This is not a point system. I want to know how many books you're going to read with a 90 to 100% because that's our goal. This child, she's in the 3rd grade with a reading level now of high school. She read 20 books and had an overall 92% average on all the books she read. But only 20 of them counted because it was a 90 to 100. So all of these were her goals, and she met them all for 9 weeks. So she gets to go to the glow party at the end of the year. That is a huge deal. It's all done in the dark. Y'all, if you've never been a part of a glow party with K through 5, do that. This is how I track their goals every week. They fill this out with the date, the name of the book, the level, the percent, and then this is my little code because I run different challenges throughout the year with Mayan, chapter book, or AR. And so these are the special, and then like March Madness, they'll do MM, so I know where to give them credit on the reports that I'm doing for the prizes. And then this last column is a star saying, I checked it, it's confirmed, you were correct, that one counts. It's their backup. So then over here, her book goal for the 9 weeks was 12. Well, she's going to start off at 2 a week. I need 2 books, so then at the end of the week, I told her that you earned the 2. You're good, you get a prize. Go to the next week. She needed 2 books. She got 2 books. She needed 2 books. Oh, she didn't have any that week. So I wrote her a little encouraging note. Hey, don't get behind. Let me help you find some books. I know you can do it. Catch up next week. Well, since she was right on track and she only needed 12, she had a little wiggle room. So she comes in, she got 1, and I called her in the hall and I said, hey girl, I saw you. I see you. Take that test a little more carefully next time. She comes in, we get back on track. Well, look here. Now she only needs 1 because she's practically met her goal, but she got 5. So then I called her. I said, you're going to meet this weekly goal. And look, when she did, boom, I did it. This is how I communicate with all the kids. We write messages back and forth in their folder the entire time. So everybody knows I am faithful in looking. Don't come to my door on Friday because I'm busy. This is the word count wall. Our theme this year was Take Me to Your Readers. Each kid had an astronaut on a spaceship, and they moved through the galaxy on the quest to get 1,000,000 words. This was our kickoff challenge of chapter books. I made these little bookshelves, and they stood probably this tall from the ground. Each shelf held 10 books, so it was a 40-book challenge. The kids, this is second grade. The challenge was over. They didn't want me to take their bookshelf down. So then they start putting all these other chapter books, it's book spines, where they put the titles of the books and they rate them. And they ended up doing 110 books as 14 kids in the classroom. Okay? And that was just the month of August. Like I said, this is just the beginning. This was crazy. And they got a big reward. Teachers, actually, I gave them 15 minutes of extra recess time. So I took the kids out. Teachers got that 15-minute break. You want to talk about some happy teachers and motivated for the next challenge? This was our September challenge. I got on there. I created the QR codes with different books with the zones. If the kids did not have a reading level, then their parent initialed in the box, returned to me for a prize. If they did have a reading level, they take the quiz, they put their score in the box, give it to me, and they get a prize. September reading challenges, those were some of the classroom winners. They were very excited. They got these little fidget things, and those 2 classes got extra recess because every kid in there completed that challenge. Grandparents' Day, you got to take advantage of where you are. You've got to take advantage of the times that you have families in your room. So anytime we're going to have families in our schools, I put up a display and I take advantage of it. Reach those people, reach the kids, reach the families. We have a photo booth. I give away books. This was games with grandparents. So after they got done eating, Save the Children had sent a gift in kind that had a bunch of these little miniature games. So they got to come get a game, do it with a grandparent, bring it back, do another game. And then the grandparent got to take a book home for their house. Again, teachers are very motivated when you do things for them. So I went to the teachers and I said, hey, let's talk. What is something that you think you could use an extra resource for in the literacy standpoint? Tell me something you don't have enough teaching materials for. Tell me something you would like to have as a review. And so when they did, I get to work and I go to Lakeshore and I go to Scholastic and I go to all of these places that we communicate with. And I budgeted in my money to get them these things. So even our math teacher, she said, "What? I'm not a reading teacher." I said, "I realize that, but what do you need?" So even she was included, and then that helped her. Oh, now she's going to give this 10 extra minutes at the end of her class to Mayan and AR time. And, you know, she'd catch me in the hall. "Miss Ashley, you got any math books or anything that I can do on, you know, whatever subject they were on?" So it really opened the door, even though we didn't communicate every day like I did with the other teachers. This is one of our big events that we do in the fall, and it's the homecoming parade. And instead of tossing out candy, we toss out books. But no, we don't literally toss the books. But we put them in these wagons. My husband drives our side-by-side, or my son, and we load it, the back with the books. We have wagons. We decorate them. We put them in there. This is my daughter right here. And right here she says, "I need some Save the Children swag so that they know I'm with you." Honey, they know you're with me. But we have all different books, and we give out books during the parade. This is our fall festival. Now, these games you see on the wall, I'll take them in a few minutes, and I'll tell you about those. But I set up the literacy wall behind me at the fall festival, and all the teachers come up with their games for fall festival. These are the games I do, and when they get done, they put a tag in one of the little jack-o'-lantern buckets, and I do a big drawing for different prizes. And I have an estimation bucket, and I have like the newest gift in kind, and they tell me which book they would like so that it's on their desk whenever they come into school the next morning. We also did Friday Night Lights, and I wasn't able to go, but the kids that met their AR goal got to run out on the field, at the football field, at the homecoming game, and they celebrated the entire school system families, community, everybody was there, and they got to go out on the field with the players and celebrate under the lights. And we have a big billboard, and they've had their name and their picture in their school, and we met our reading goal. And you want to talk about a kid get excited when their picture is on a billboard, and that didn't cost a dime. All you have to do is talk to your superintendent and your coaches. They took care of that. There's some of the games in action. I had a student helper. I actually taught her in kindergarten. And they love to come back and help with all these games. Come on. Our park event in the fall, we partnered with Save the Children, and there's some more of the games. We did BYOB, but it was bring your own blanket. And we stretched them out on the lawn, and I had books by grade level. The kids got to go pick a book, read with their families, do the games, make a craft, have a snack, get another sheet of QR codes. I have had more comments on the QR codes for parents to do at home with their kids because we don't have to do the voices. They do them for us, and it's Screen Actors Guild. Who better to read a book, right? And there's some more of those pictures. We have great support. That's my principal. Those are the other two reading ambassadors in Crockett County at Gadsden and Murray City. And our superintendent, he is very supportive, very supportive. There's a few more pictures. This little fella with the horse book up here in the corner in here, bless him. He was so excited about this spinner game. Okay, so it's right here. And as we do the stories, the kids get to spin the wheel, and I usually have alien tape on the back of my spinner because they get very spirited about it. But these are the questions. They spin the wheel, whatever it lands on, they find the icon, and they read. That's what they have to answer. Well, I do this in my classroom all the time. My kids love it. They're used to it, whatever. This little fella, I don't know where he came from. I don't have any idea. But I bet if I read him one book, I read him 14 because that's all he wanted to do was read the book, spin the wheel. Read the book. Can I go spin the wheel again? Sure you can spin. So he'd spin the wheel. Well, he finally got his own book because I told him, I said, sweetie, I would love to come read to you again, but I really need to go help this kid over here. And so he says, I got this. So he got his own book. He couldn't read, but he was reading. And he was telling a story that he thought was happening with the picture, spinning the wheel, answering his own questions, because by then we'd already done them all. He knew what they said. He just wanted to spin the wheel. And it was great. He was so excited. All right, the games, we don't have time to play them, but I'm just going to tell you around the room. These are just a handful. I've made these poster games. Some of these are original, like I created them, I came up with them. Some of these are, I saw an idea on a worksheet, and I liked how that looked, and I liked the wording, but it was ugly, and if you're going to do it pretty, because that's my kindergarten brain. So I redid them. And then a few of them, Tara West, Lindsay Custer, these people that are on Teacher Pay Teacher, and I know that that's like a blah, 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 blah. But when it's game review, I'm sorry, why reinvent the wheel? Okay? This is not my teaching method. This is after we've done the groundwork, a review. So when I'm testing one-on-one to see if this kid got it, these are set up in my classroom and they rotate like centers. Okay? I also have a relay tic-tac-toe up here that is fantastic. But we don't have the time for that right now. This was one of our favorites this year. I made this turkey on the wall, and for every chapter book or Mayan book that they got, that they did, made a 90 to 100 on, they got to stick the feather. We were making a turkey tail. So it was a really big joke. How many turkey tails have you got today? And you'd hear the kids going back and forth. Well, what they didn't know is I had already pre-counted so that every classroom had 50 turkey tails. Okay, turkey feathers. 25 for Mayan, 25 for chapter book. Yellow was Mayan, orange was chapter book. So second grade is constantly banging on my door. We need more feathers. We need more tails. We need more. Well, then here comes fourth grade. Hey, Miss Ashley, we need more tails. We ended up, I had passed out originally 200. 146 feathers were already put back in the turkey tail in 18 days. In 18 days, they had made 90 to 100 on the AR quiz for the turkey tail. That's not all the books they read. There were lots of 80s. There were a few 70s. There were some that were not so great. But, y'all, 146 books in 18 days by 59 kids? You don't get much better than that. They were reading them at home and coming in. The teachers are like, oh, my God, this turkey tail thing is driving me crazy, because they would come in and the kids are like, I read this book last night. Let me take. She said they were on like speed trying to take an AR test, you know. I got to get lunch count. What do you want for lunch? I got to get a turkey tail. So then I jump on the bandwagon. This is the one I sent home, and it was the same thing. They do this completely at home. They write the title and the date. They bring it back signed, and they get a free book and a prize. Oh, no. Okay, I'm going fast. I'm sorry. 5 minutes? Okay. This December challenge, I sent a list of activities to the teachers, and this is what it looked like in each class. 4th and 5th grade, they started with a blank strand of lights for 4th grade, and they added bulbs. 5th grade added marshmallows to a mug, and this thing is so huge it would be right there where the screen is. And then we use these for the decorations for the Christmas program. The 3rd grade, I did the outline of the gingerbread. I copied off all the pieces on cardstock. They added pieces to make the gingerbread house. This was the 2nd grade. I gave them a snow globe in pieces, and they added them to make the snow globe. Now, these are only 90 to 100s. I got to get that in y'all's head. This is only 90s to 100s. 1st grade, they built a snowman. They did it a little bit different because there was not very many in there. So as they read and did books, when they did the activity as a class, they put a piece on the wall. So their final product was a snowman. Kindergarten was a stocking. This was open library event. I partnered with our local library, and she came and did library cards for the kids. The middle school assistant principal came, and she read a book to the children that while they were eating a snack. Again, I had my games up on the wall. December, we broke records. 59 students in December had read 6.5 million words, and that's kind of the breakdown. The goal for 5th grade, like I went back and tallied, their goal for the class was 132 books. They did 246. The goal for 4th grade was 147 for the second 9 weeks, and they did 248. So the total school goal for the second 9 weeks of school was 680, but they earned 1,200, almost 1,300. That's mid-year. I knew we were going to break records. I knew it. This is some group time, some of the kids that I have, some of the things that we do. We've got all the games, the book studies with the older ones. They love the chapter books. I wish I could tell y'all more about this stuff. Book of the month, reader of the month, birthday books. Every opportunity, I'm trying to get books in their hands. Valentine's for teachers. Here's another little, teachers, I appreciate you. I think you color my life, and they all got highlighters. This is one of our little libraries that's outside of the school, and I just happened to be driving by when a visitor was popping in, so I snapped a picture and kept rolling. We have another little library up at the spot, and these 2 children had gone in to eat and came back out, and the little boy was late for his baseball game but had to get a book. And the parents were standing there. I said, can I snap a picture? I put this here. Sure, go ahead. So then this kid in the swing, we're looking through the window, and he had been over there, and he put a book in from his home and took a book out. So I couldn't get around fast enough, but we were excited about that. Pizza with Pals, and this kicked off March Madness. This is one of the most favorite things in the school that we do. March Madness is just what it says, but it's with books. And these kids make a prediction before we ever start on what book they think is going to win March Madness. Put it in a bucket, and at the end, if they made a correct guess, then they get a bonus prize. So that was what it looked like on the wall. It came down between If You Laugh, I'm Starting This Book Over, and The 3 Little Pigs and the Somewhat Bad Wolf. Well, guess which one won? It was The 3 Little Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf. So then all the classroom teachers got a copy of the book for their class. All the kids got a pig splat face ball that you throw up against the wall and it splatters everywhere. They loved it. Read Across America, this was deer time, drop everything and read. In our Read Across America, we had themes each day, and we had a community helper event that was amazing. But even the teachers and our assistant principal stopped what they were doing. We had our Miss CCHS came and read a book one day. We had the football and baseball players come, softball players came, and they high-fived the kids on the way in the building. Community helpers, and that is represented. So, golly Bill, okay. Math and literacy night, all the teachers were involved. We had these superheroes, and the teachers got a superhero. This was kind of like the turkey feathers, but it was Valentine's Day, so they added hearts, and the kids didn't know what the message was. They didn't even know what letter they were making until the teachers unscrambled to find out that it completed the message on the wall. It's a lovely day to read a book. This was the Easter one, Reading Makes Me Hoppy, and we added Easter eggs to a basket. You wouldn't believe what a kid will do to get their things on the wall. When you grow, you glow. When you read, you glow. And then here's some glow party pictures, our 13 million words. We had balloons, streamers. Sonic partnered with us and gave us a great deal for meals for the kids. They all walked away with more books. They were so excited. We had glow-in-the-dark tattoos. That in third grade, I'll stop here, but third grade, I went to them and I told them, I said, y'all, you were at 3.5 million words. The cutoff is tomorrow. I talked to the teacher. She was at a conference, and she said, Ashley, go in there, get them, make them do it. And I'm friends with the sub, so I walked in there and I said, hey, here's what we've got. Y'all, they did it. They hit 4 million words in one day. They did it, 600,000 words. It was amazing. There's United Way with Rockabilly Readers, the Readers Night, our pep rallies. He was the top reader in the school this year, second grade. He read over 200 books. And then third grade, she had 768,000 words. And I will leave you, you're not going to win everybody. Not everybody is going to participate or be thrilled with what you're doing. You've got to accept that and move on. Your motivation is student growth and goal accomplishment. You've got to know that at the end of the day, what you do does matter. It's like the starfish. Have y'all heard the starfish story? You know, the man and the boy were walking, and the boy picks it up, and he's throwing it back in the ocean, and the man notices. He said, son, what are you doing? There's hundreds of starfish out here. And he laughed at him, and he said, there's miles and miles. You're not going to make that big of a difference. And the little boy picks one up, and he throws it back, and he said, well, I made a difference to that one. So that's why we do this, is to make a difference and to plant a seed. You're welcome to take pictures of the games. I'll be glad to explain them all to you if you want. If you need to want my email, I can give that to you. I know that this is recorded, and I can send you the PowerPoint.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
One person can make an impact. School level, community level, anything, one person can make an impact. So.
And I hope you got something out of this.